because the less you say, the more people are likely to remember what's most important. So try, as everybody's coming to do your report back, try and get the top 3 things, maybe 5, that you want everybody in this group to know. Okay? We're going to do the second healthcare group. Thing 1, consensus. Get corporate greed out of healthcare because healthcare is a human right. Thing 2, New York State, like 20-some other states, has a single payer bill, and that means a publicly financed, universal healthcare system. It covers everyone. A lot of us have worked very hard on that bill. It's rewritten, it's been improved. Lobby day, Medicaid are winning. We have bans from the Bronx, from Brooklyn, from Manhattan. I have flyers, please come see me. Thing 3, another campaign that a lot of healthcare for the 99% people have put a lot of energy into is to fight local hospital closing. In Brooklyn, in Manhattan, in Queens, all over the city. Next Thursday, April 19th, the 1%, some of the 1% will have a power breakfast, $200 a plate, to talk about how to figure out our healthcare. So we need to be there to tell them. So we were having the People's Power Breakfast with billionaires for welfare and others. So if you want information about that, it's happening at the Exodus House. Right there, you can see it. Come talk to me. I apply that card. Thing 4, Act Up, the AIDS activist group, is having its 25th anniversary. On April 25th, we're doing an action on Wall Street, City Hall Wall Street. So again, come get information. Thing 5. I have a thing 5, yes. We are also doing a petitioning training. I know the petitions are not the end all be all, but it does help build a movement and it helps educate people. So if you want to become a petitioner, we have a 100 by 100 campaign with Healthcare Now. The training is on April 21st, Saturday. So please come talk to me if you want information. Excellent. Gender and sexuality. Feminine.
A lot of people in our group.
We're all involved in WOWs.
As well as other organizations. Around the city.
What we realize.
Is
that we all have things going on. Independent of one another. So what we've done. Is we've given each other flyers. And dates of the things that we have going on.
One
of the things that's going on is formally known
Slut Walk.
And this is called feminist resistance.
Which is happening on May 5th.
And this started a year ago. As a response to women in Toronto. A police officer passed them. And said that they could avoid being considered sluts if they dressed appropriately. That started Slut Walk. We also have women from Radical Women. With concrete plans and actions. They have a candidate who's running for I can't remember. I bring that up. Because it's somebody who's involved. Very much with the community. With these issues. Who's running for office.
Find the rest on Tumblr.
So this is Walter who's behind us. Hi, I'm from the neighborhoods group. We want to connect with people in our neighborhoods.
In
order to reproduce what we want for the movement. On a local level. Some of the strategies that people in our group have been using. Include connecting with community organizations. That are already doing work. Also house calls. A strategy of cop watch. Community gardens. Building community-wide tenant associations. Playing good cop, bad cop with community boards. Holding GAs in Spanish. Providing child care for GAs. And moving slowly. In order to build relationships between neighbors. Our ultimate goal is to connect local movements with broader national and international movements. Who's up next?
Education can go next.
Education. Come on down.
Education's ready.
Is there a mic?
This is the people's mic.
Mic check.
Mic check.
I'm Emily.
And
I'm speaking for education. Opportunities for organization. We want to bring like-minded people together. Stop allowing divisive tactics within our education system. Reconstruct the curriculum in new ways. Reevaluate structure of how we educate our society. We have strategies for over the next 6 months. We want to teach students to think and act as activists. We want to occupy universities and schools. And participate in Occupy University. Make schools more community-based. Promote diversity within the system. Here are some dates coming up.
April 25th, there'll be a student debt campaign. April 26th, the panel for education policy. Bloomberg's panel. We'll be having a school closure hearing. That will close 26 schools. In New York. May 1st. There'll be a free university. At Union Square. And May 15th. The free university. Will be at Madison Square. I think she's right. I'm wrong. May 15th. There'll be a day for education. Which will also discuss better democratic control. And and be in solidarity with a worldwide day of strikes.
How does education relate to the larger system and movement?
How does education relate to the larger system and movement?
Education is affected by economic and social injustices of our society.
Education is affected by the economic and social injustice in our society.
We need to educate ourselves.
We need to educate ourselves.
We need to educate our society.
We need to educate our society.
How to be socially just and how to rebuild our ideas of education.
How to be socially just and how to rebuild our ideas of education.
The more you know, the more dangerous you are to the government.
The more you know, the more dangerous you are to the government.
Thank you.
Truth telling.
I'm going to try to be loud, so maybe we don't have to have a mic check and this can go quicker, okay?
Can people hear in the back?
Okay, great. Recognizing continued wars in Iraq and Afghanistan and threats of war against Iran, we discussed that Occupy Wall Street can have a very unique approach to the anti-war movement. We believe in people-to-people solidarity. We were inspired by the Arab Spring, so we propose that we take this opportunity to make it clear that we do not want our tax dollars killing innocent people. We know that people in Iran have their own struggles against repression and against being put in jail, against what their government is doing to them. And they also simultaneously are opposed to sanctions against their country. And they are simultaneously opposed to war against their country. So we propose that we stand in solidarity with the people in Iran against state repression, against war, and against sanctions. Right on. We propose concrete actions of creating slogans for the May 1st demonstration that we can all say and use, connecting the use of our tax dollars, the corporate greed that goes into funding these wars, targeting weapons manufacturers like Boeing and Lockheed Martin, who profit off of the backs of killing innocent civilians. We also propose doing teach-ins about sanctions so people know what the effects of these policies are on ordinary people in other countries, and they don't get whitewashed by our media. And we hope that Occupy Wall Street will continue to take this messaging into all of our groups so that we can continue to make the connection of a global solidarity movement against oppression.
So can the next group of report back people come on up?
We're with budget cuts and tax rich.
Let's go back to people's mic. Is that okay?
Okay.
Hi.
We're going to use people's mic again. Mic check.
Mic check. We broke our report back into three sections. One for each of the questions. I'm doing opportunities. This is a chance to unite our issue is budget cuts and taxing the rich. This is a chance to unite New York City. Budget cuts affect everyone. The money to fund the programs that working and poor people depend on is out there. There is a coalition already working on these issues. It's called 99% New York. And came out of the May 12th coalition. To get involved with them, talk to Mary, or to Mike, after this.
To develop a strategic approach
To develop a strategic approach
to raising taxes on the rich
to raising taxes on the rich
and enacting budgets that serve the 99%.
And enacting budgets that serve the 99%.
We focus on three things.
We focus on three things.
We need to build structures and communication systems
We need to build structures and communication systems
that allow Occupy Wall Street to partner
that allow Occupy Wall Street to partner
with unions, community-based organizations,
with community-based organizations,
Students.
and everyone.
and everyone.
We also need to remember that a root cause of the problem of unfair taxes
We also need to remember the root cause of the problem of unfair taxes
is money in politics.
is money in politics.
We need publicly financed elections.
We need publicly financed elections.
We also need to take advantage of the opportunity
We also need to take advantage of the opportunity
to build this movement and to bring creative direct actions
to build this movement and bring creative direct actions
to bear on campaigns for a better tax policy and more fair budget.
to bear on a
campaign for better tax policy and an unfair budget.
And we need to get together again for the movement assembly on May 13th.
We need to get together again for the movement assembly on May 13th.
How do budget cuts
How do budget cuts
and taxing the rich
and taxing the rich
fit into the broader movement?
fit into the broader movement?
We should try
We should try
to clearly connect
to clearly connect
budget cuts and taxes
budget cuts and taxes
to the 99%
to the 99%
quality of life.
quality of life.
Talk about budget cuts
Talk about budget cuts
within local communities.
within local communities.
Explain how they are affected by these issues.
Explain how they are affected by these issues.
Start debates
Start debates
about budgetary priorities,
about budgetary priorities
such as
war,
prison,
poverty,
poverty,
education,
healthcare,
etc.
Talk about the increasing privatization
Talk about the increasing privatization
of previously public services
of previously public services
and about austerity
and about austerity
and about union busting
and about union busting
within the public sector.
within the public sector.
Coordinate effectively
Coordinate effectively
with standing organizations
with standing organizations
have been working on these issues.
that have been working on these issues.
Be able to mobilize
Be able to mobilize
immediately and effectively
immediately and effectively
as a unified front
as a unified front
when issues come up in the public eye
when issues come up in the public eye
relating to taxes and budget cuts.
relating to taxes and budget cuts.
Overall,
Bring
militancy
militancy
and urgency
and urgency
to the issues of taxes and budget cuts.
to the issues of taxes and budget cuts.
Thank you. Have your notes.
They're going to be typed up and emailed to Toby.
Who's the contact you?
Yeah. We in the housing group
The housing
want to build
Want to build
an education campaign
an education campaign
on housing issues
on housing issues
and broaden the conversation
and broaden the conversation
to renters' rights
to renters' rights
and talk about alternative,
collective,
and other nonprofit forms of housing, and to change the conversation about housing from an investment for profit to a basic human need. We also want to keep pushing our narrative about the banks and their illegal, immoral involvement in foreclosures. We also support direct action, like organizing rent strikes. If you withhold your rent for a month, a landlord cannot take you to housing court. Other actions. Organizing tenants
in low-income neighborhoods,
to
block marshals at their door from evicting them, and joining foreclosure auction blockades with Organized for Occupation. We also want to apply pressure to government housing agencies and the housing courts to advance our critique of their ineffectiveness and their complicity. Last thing, I'm starting an Occupy Wall Street dessert kitchen. If you are interested, come see me. And if you know ways of getting funding from Occupy, let me know. Thank you.
How many more report backs do we have? Can I see a raise of hands for other reporters? One.
We're just talking about it.
Possibly one. Probably not. Two. Go for it.
All right. Mic check. We talked about occupation. Our conversation was half nostalgia and half looking forward. We talked about what worked at Zuccotti. And what we consented on was the idea of mutual aid. Was really central to what was happening at Zuccotti. And we would like to see mutual aid continue to be an essential part of anything that calls itself an occupation. In terms of Occupy Wall Street. Looking for the future. We also talked about the Sleep on Wall Street protests. That are happening right now. We talked about the idea of decentralization. Of occupations. One of the ideas is centralizing 5 pillars of capitalism. And having sleep-in occupations at these different locations. There were some people who agreed. And others who did not. As usual. But if you're interested in continuing the conversation about this, there'll be a meeting tonight at 7 p.m. in front of the stock exchange to talk about what our next steps will be. As far as the occupation component of Occupy Wall Street goes. And one last thing that we touched on was maintaining a balance between occupying powerful symbols and actual practical applications of what we're doing on the ground. Finding a way to have both. That's it.
So, I'm from the Communications Tools for Organizing group. I wanted to start a conversation about how we can create a point of access through communication. For the general public that is not already in support of Occupy. Personally, I'm starting a group called Occupy the Mainstream. But I wanted to get a range of opinions from Occupy. about how to create that point of access.
About how to create that point of access.
Some things that are already going on.
Some things that are already going on.
In addition to what people have been saying here.
In addition to what people have been saying here.
Is Occupy.
Is Occupy.
Which is a website that uses conference calls.
Is a website that uses conference calls.
And other ways of organizing people across the country.
And other ways of organizing people across the country.
To create messages that can be outward-facing on the website.
Create messages that can be outward-facing on the website.
Another one is Occupied Stories.
Another one is Occupied Stories.
Which uses individual stories. That can also appeal to people outside of Occupy.
That can also appeal to people outside of Occupy.
The main thing to take away from this.
The main thing to take away from this.
Was that there was a great difference of opinion.
There's a great difference in opinion.
In how to communicate on a mass level.
On how to communicate on a mass level.
Some people thought that we should just use grassroots communication.
Some people thought that we should just use grassroots communication.
Talk to people you would never talk to in your community on a human level.
Talk to people that you would never talk to in your community on a human level.
Other people thought that we could focus on one issue that would encompass other issues in the movement.
Other people thought that we would focus on
And he wants to talk a little about that, and then we'll be done.
All right, save your voices. No need for people's mics. Real quick. The idea that I had that got some good reaction in our group, one issue that we can unite on, what we're protesting, we're occupying Wall Street, the banks. The Wall Street banks own the Federal Reserve's private bank cartel. That's what we need to focus on. I was suggesting, it's right up the block from Liberty Plaza. 1-2 blocks right up there. Every day in the spring and summer, we can organize, get people together at Liberty Plaza, march to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. And every day it gets stronger. That is how we ask in the group, how do we get 100,000 people together? Well, how do we get the Million Hoodie March together? Occupy Wall Street did that. And that's how we got Trayvon's killer facing prison charges, facing murder charges. We can affect change if we organize on one issue. If people care about an issue, a kid that didn't even know, they can care if they know how the Federal Reserve enslaves us. So let's organize, let's meet and organize protests of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York every day, Monday through Friday. Our slave owners go in and out every day. Yes. Let's make the people awake so we can change it. That's the issue. They control the government. Without that, we were arguing about. I'll leave it alone.
Sorry, sorry, can I just say one final thing about this to get in touch with the group? So clearly there are people saying that we should focus on a main issue like a financial issue or something like that. But the group I'm creating, Occupy the Mainstream, through knowledge of the mainstream, is just to use traditional media tools like media audits, using public opinion polls and surveys and things like that to create reports that can help anyone in the way that they want to proceed. And so I want to create a sort of messaging resource library that will probably be linked to Occupy. And if you're interested, please come see me. I'm collecting names of people who are willing to do that kind of work. Thank you.
Environment information. The Million Hoodie March.
The Million Hoodie March
Was not organized.
Did not happen.
Because of Occupy Wall Street.
The Million Hoodie March asked
Occupy Wall Street
to march
in solidarity
with the Million Hoodie March.
Environment.
Okay. So we met to discuss environment and ecology. And why it hasn't been a bigger issue in Occupy Wall Street so far. Occupy Wall Street is a great opportunity. To highlight ecological questions. And the divide between the 1% and the 99%. Environment is a question of reclaiming the common.
Environment is a question of reclaiming the commons.
Of imagining alternatives.
Of imagining alternatives.
At urban, local, and national, and global scales. You don't have to repeat that part. Okay. Okay, at many different scales, from the city scale to the global scale. Ecology is also a question.
Ecology is also a question
of race, class, gender, and immigration.
Of race, class, gender, and immigration.
Food, water, energy, and the city.
Food, water, energy, and the city
are also major ecological questions that Occupy Wall Street can address. Our neoliberal leaders would like us to believe if that things are not privately owned, that they will be squandered, and that everything must be owned by someone. But you can't own the environment. We are all stakeholders in clean water. Clean air. In a healthy environment. These things are not privileges to be bought. This is a global struggle. It requires global solidarity. We suggest that we should further develop this narrative to debunk the myth of the tragedy of the commons. Because whether we like it or not, there are things in which we all have an interest. There's a very fertile period coming up for Occupy Wall Street and environment. Earth Day is the 22nd of this month. And then we have May Day soon after that. That's the period in which to do a lot of creative direct action around environmental issues. It's a chance to bring questions of labor and immigration into the discussion of environment. There are time for new creative tactics. Such as on Earth Day. On Saturday. There will be a melt-in at Grand Central. And then on Earth Day, on Sunday the 22nd. A jazz funeral. For the death of Earth as we know it. And on May Day, there will be environmentally related community pickets in the morning of May Day.
Point of information. The action on the 21st is at Grand Central. The jazz is at the BP station at Houston and Lafayette. At noon. And we'll be going to Union Square. And should be there around 1 p.m. Definitely come out for that.
There is a looming crisis also. The general consensus among our state legislators is that in the next 2 months, Governor Cuomo will decide to favor Halliburton and poison our drinking water by rescinding the moratorium on fracking. We would be very wise not to let this tragedy go to waste and begin to organize so that when they decide to poison 8 million New Yorkers, we take to the streets and say no longer.
Last report back.
Immigration.
Hi, I'm Sam.
Hi, I'm Sam.
Our group met to talk about immigration issues.
Our group met to talk about immigration issues.
We talked about the overlap between immigrant issues and those of labor. Relating to organizing in unions and worker centers. But also education. Foreign policy. Mass incarceration. Environment. Many issues that affect immigrants. We talked specifically about involvement in the movement. In particular, barriers to involvement. Especially for those who are undocumented. Including availability of documents in a native tongue. Translation at meetings and events. And certain safety and risk issues at action. Our group felt that unless those were made central, Occupy and in general this movement would have a difficult time including folks who are immigrants. We talked about upcoming events, specifically May Day, being a great time to bring this issue to the center. Tomorrow, there will be a rally. A farm worker justice rally. At Chipotle. At 12 p.m. At 17th Street and Broadway. So demonstrate your solidarity there. In terms of ongoing work, we talked about the Immigrant Worker Justice Working Group. And Occupy Wall Street. And also the Making World and Forum on the Commons. And we encourage you to participate in those. In order to continue this discussion. That was our group.
So, mic check. We feel that. At the close of this day, we're about to wrap up. We imagine that you've seen. And learn from one another. The many connections and interconnections. That make this struggle the struggle of the 99%. Some might think that the title Spring Awakening would imply that we've been asleep all winter long. But that has not been the case. We are blooming just as the blooms come out today. We'll be blooming on the 1st of May. And for many months forward. And so just before we finish, we invite that each of you turn to someone next to you that you don't know, and for a minute or so, introduce yourself and say what you'll be doing. In this movement, in the spring and summer.
Got 1 minute.
How are you? Good to meet you.
Martin.
What do you think? Last half hour, everywhere from next to nothing all the way up to 300 and 400 plus. And now I'm dropped to nothing, and now back up to 64. This is crazy. I'm going to have to figure out what's going on. and now I'm up to 280. And maybe it's just the environment here at the park, but I'm having... I don't think so. No. No, I think you felt air. Well,
are we stopping for food before we leave New York?
I don't know. We might stop on the way home outside of New York. We'll see. Right now, I just want to make sure everything's pretty well wrapped up here before we hit the road. Unfortunately, we won't be back until May 1st. We won't be available next weekend, but it's possible that Lippy will be out here with the group. I hope so. I shouldn't say here. We're not going to be in this park next week.
Mic
checking.
Mic check.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
I hope this was really productive. As we mentioned earlier. The next movement assembly. Is going to be on Sunday. May 13th. At Judson Memorial. Church. At 5 p.m. It's going to be part networking. Part potluck. And part dance party. I hope you're all going to come. Continue this important work. Thank you.
Yeah. So,
Mic check! Social change work. Doesn't happen by itself. You all have to do it. Some other work that doesn't happen by itself. It's picking up this park. So I brought trash bags. Please pass them around. And let's clean up after ourselves.
Mic check. As I said before, I'm starting a new meeting group for Occupy. That will hopefully work in collaboration with existing communications groups. Just because someone only gets the information through the mainstream media, the media owned by the 1%, through the television, doesn't mean they don't deserve to wake up this spring with us. I want to get to know the mainstream because they are the 99%. And it's easy to forget when you're an activist. But the reality is that they're
She's trying to talk.
We need to finish before we have speeches. I know, but we just want to finish.
That was rude.
That group over there, for having organized. That's wonderful. Bring awakening. We have participated. We're putting on. Good job. Thank Get out of your metal monster cars and bring down American capitalism.
Get out of your metal monster car.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Only if you carry me home.
Okay.
All week.
All week.
Occupy.
Right.
All street.
All street.
All day.
All day.
All week.
All week.
Occupy.
Occupy.
All street.
All street.
All day.
All day.
All week.
All week.
Occupy.
Occupy.
El mundo.
El mundo.
All day.
No? Oh, well.
Just had to hear this group get loud for a second.
You're right. It was too quiet.
Quiet.
At least I think we avoided scaring people away. We actually had people walking through and looking open-minded for a change. It was.
It was a magical day.
It was
Dream come true for me personally.
couldn't believe everything was perfect.
It's about May 1st. Come talk to me. About organizing. And international. For May Day. Because
black and brown youth are murdered and harassed here.
we're murdered and harassed here in Afghanistan. Are massacred.
Women around the world
Women around the world
are subjugated.
subjugated.
Because the whole
Because the whole
planet
planet
faces environmental emergency.
faces environmental emergency.
Because immigrants come here.
Because immigrants come here.
The rest of the world.
The rest of the world.
We need a vibrant presence.
Letting presence.
On May Day.
May Day.
With the theme.
Internationalism.
Internationalism. The whole world comes first.
The whole world comes first.
So let's make that real.
So let's make that real.
Talk to me about it.
Talk to me about it.
Well, we'll be here on May 1st, so she can talk to us then if she really wants to. I think overall this has been a very good day.
Yeah.
I'm very pleased. The turnout was some of the best I've seen yet. It's hard to tell in a march because when I'm at the front of the march, I can't see the back of the march. But I'd still say that we had a very good turnout. I want to appreciate everybody who's been watching us here on Occupy Earth. I will remind you that here at Occupy Earth, we are not unbiased. We are biased. We are biased for the occupation and against the 1%. And mind you, if the 1% turn around and change into beautiful, giving people overnight, I will be the first one to tell you. But I kind of fear that that won't happen. Nevertheless, it's been another good day in New York City. And I think we're going to start heading out the door in general this direction.
You out here, guys?
Yeah, I think so for tonight.
Yeah, where'd Lippy go? Did she leave?
Yeah, she left earlier. They were really beat. They were really tired. And we still got a bit of a ride ourselves. North Jersey, like her.
Okay.
We're just a little further out.
I got you.
You know.
All right, safe home.
But we'll be here May 1st.
Right on. Right on.
Take care, brother. Good seeing you. Okay, head in this way. I don't know how this really came over on the video. I know being here was quite impressive. It felt really good to be in a crowd like this. Reminded me of the olden days back in the 60s. No harassment. As I say, I have to assume we had a nice permit to keep that from happening. Seeing so many of my friends here, many of whom I don't even know by name yet, but slowly but surely I learned them. It was a great show all around, I think. Now, I just have to... We go out that way? Is that how we came in? Over there? Is that how we came in? Or up here?
Over there.
Over there. So we'll cross here. Here we go again. Up and down goes my stream. I've never seen these numbers change so much. And I'm sorry, folks. Just a little too tired to make an all-nighter over at Wall Street, as much as I would love to do so. But once again, Occupy wins the day, in my opinion. You can't get much more happy and agreeable people. So, on that note, I believe I'm going to close down. Thank you, folks. Once again, when I get home, I'll give everybody a shout out and say hello. And again, I don't know what Lippy's up to next week. I will definitely be out on May 1st with my wonderful son here, who's making faces, but he's allowed. So, good night, folks.